From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
We know North Dakota is big for agriculture, but how big? We check out the diversity of this one state as we tour the ag states of America. The strike at two key Canadian ports appears to be ending, how it's caused problems up and down the supply chain, including here in the U.S. As U.S. officials celebrate some trading successes for the livestock industry.
A phenomenal growth in consumption of
how it's helping producers' bottom lines right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when blood, sweat, and tears meet rain, wind, and sun. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. May pork exports were the highest in 2 years, and that's partially due to big demand from Latin America. Mexico is the best example with pork exports on a record-breaking pace. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us. And Michelle, what is the potential for additional export growth in that entire region?
Clinton, there's huge potential for red meat exports in Central and South America just based on the success the U.S. has had in Colombia and Mexico after signing free trade agreements. U.S. livestock producers were just in Colombia on a U.S. Meat Export Federation trade mission where they met with buyers at the Latin American Product Showcase.
U.S. livestock producers are hoping to build on the export success they've seen in countries like Colombia. When the U.S. struck the free trade agreement with the country over a decade ago, sales of U.S. red meat were in the single digits. However, today, with a strong relationship, they've seen a big increase in exports.
the most recent data is showing it's about 12 kilograms, which would be close to 25 pound per capita consumption. So a phenomenal growth in consumption of U.S. pork products within Colombia, but also then our market share within Colombia. And so it just shows the potential once we open a market, get a free trade agreement, and actually then over time of developing relationships and exactly what's going on here today, we do move more product because of the competitiveness of U.S. beef, pork, and lamb producers.
He says expanding exports in Latin America will help the U.S. diversify beyond China, and consumers in those countries like U.S. red meat and variety meats for many reasons, including their price point and sustainability.
It's really all about our feed products here. It's all about our corn and our soybean products that make up that nutrition that we have here. That's what really gives us the basic competitiveness here and the cost advantages that we have to other places that are producing red meat in the world here. And so I think it's the value they're always looking for, in their market or the in-country market. Where can they get the best value? And that's a lot of the times because it's the U.S. market.
Sprunk says they're also targeting Latin America because they're good customers of variety meats like liver, which aren't popular in the U.S., so those sales add a tremendous amount to the value of each carcass. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
Hopefully the Midwest will be in for some rain this week to help bust out of those drought conditions. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht has a look ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to start off once again taking a look at the temperatures because over the course of the next couple of days, you'll see really the pattern that we're going to be talking about this entire week. In fact, we were talking about it last week. As we look at the temperatures this afternoon, you see the triple-digit heat. Obviously, it is summer, but watch what happens as we get into the next couple of days. So we start to see that triple-digit heat, but also our morning temperatures get a lot warmer, more to the east and to the northeast, and meaning that ridge of high pressure. Let me show you tomorrow afternoon. See more of the triple digits back into Tulsa, St. Louis, and Memphis than what we have today. And that is that ridge of high pressure continuing to grow. Now this little notch right here, Cincinnati 89 degrees and then New York City at 85 degrees, that is a shallow trough that is going to be kind of the saving grace for some to keep that extreme heat back away from the Midwest and from the Northeast, but it's not going to last that long. As you'll see coming up in a little bit, our pattern, our jet stream is going to end up going zonal. And when it does, then we'll start to lose a little bit of energy in the jet stream and in that trough. And we're actually going to get back to some above average high temperatures through, well, I hate to say it, but a good portion of the nation. This is not going to be just one or two states. Here's a look at, let's go take a look at your screen. And what you're looking at there, this is courtesy of Adam. We've been telling you about the triple digit heat. I just did. Adam's sharing this picture from Lubbock, Texas. He said it's so hot, even the pigweeds are wilting. Adam says last Wednesday, the temperature was 110 110 degrees. Good to see those weeds die off, but not the way we want them to. I'll have more in your forecast coming up.
The strike at two of Canada's busiest ports appears to be coming to an end. Canadian dock workers and their employers agreed to a tentative 4-year labor deal. Now, during the 13-day strike, major supply chains in Canada and the U.S. faced extensive snarls at the Port of Vancouver and the Port of Prince Rupert. Canadian freight rail traffic to the U.S. fell by nearly 50% in just 1 week during the strike. Commodities most affected included non-metallic minerals, chemicals, crude oil, petroleum products, and forest products. It also stranded food ingredients and agricultural inputs. Now, the agreement still needs to be ratified. A recent court ruling is letting stand a big merger in the sugar industry. The U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rejecting an appeal from the Department of Justice, paving the way for U.S. Sugar's acquisition of Imperial Sugar. The court upholding a lower court's ruling from last year that gave a green light to the merger. The Department of Justice contesting the $315 million deal, claiming it would violate antitrust law and boost prices for consumers and businesses. U.S. Sugar agreed in March of 2021 to buy Imperial Sugar from Louis Dreyfus. U.S. Sugar operates a refinery in Florida, while Imperial Sugar has a refinery in Georgia. Speaking of sweeteners, the World Health Organization says the long-used artificial sweetener aspartame could lead to potential health risks. Aside from diet sodas and low-calorie foods, the artificial sweetener is in roughly 6,000 products worldwide. That's according to the Calorie Control Council. Now, a committee within the World Health Organization says aspartame should be deemed, quote, possibly carcinogenic to humans, but it says the evidence is, quote, limited.
Despite consistent positive findings in these 3 studies, the working group concluded that chance, bias, and confounding could not be ruled out with reasonable confidence, and thus they concluded that the evidence was limited.
I think our results do not indicate that occasional consumption should pose a risk to most consumers.
American Beverage, a group that represents the non-alcoholic drink industry, said in a statement, quote, the fact that food safety agencies worldwide, including the FDA, continue to find aspartame safe makes us confident in the safety of our products. For now, health officials recommend moderation. Diverging grain markets appeared in the week. We'll dig into what it means on this Monday morning. That's coming up next. And later, fall tillage will be here before you know it. Machinery Pete has the latest on some tillage tool auction prices ahead on AgDay. Corn and soybeans moving again in opposite directions to end last week, while wheat made a strong showing. Michelle Rook is back to break down what analysts will be watching this week in Markets Now.
Grains closed mostly higher on Friday and higher for the week. Jim McCormick, agmarket.net, is joining us. And Jim, let's talk about the grain trade, because a higher weekly close after a bearish WASDE report on Wednesday. How encouraging or bullish is that?
Well, I think you definitely got to be encouraged. I mean, when we went on Wednesday, the trade is definitely demoralized. Those ending stocks for beans at 300, a lot, 100 million higher than the average trade guess. And the reality is 2.2 billion bushel corn carryout is not tight at all. By historical measures, we should be a lot lower price, but the market rejected it. So, the upcoming week's trade should really be interesting. I think it shows you, Michelle, the market, despite what the government told us, we're still in the middle of a weather market. We're not convinced that even with a lower corn yield, that yield's going to stick. They left the bean yield unchanged. That's really questionable, as beans are made or broke in August. Spring wheat dealing with dryness issue in the Northern Plains in Canada. And then also we have the grain deal that's up for re-upping, actually. And there's a lot of debate if this is the time that it actually does not get re-upped.
No doubt. And so that, and the fact that we had a big pullback in the dollar last week, those things are all going to be focused for this week. So can we keep this momentum going, do you think?
If the maps stay warm and dry, I mean, right now there's longer range maps are hinting some dryness issues in parts of Iowa into the Northern Plains. So I think if that maps stick around a little bit, you're going to put some more weather premium in. And the dollar, it does seem like we finally changed the psychology of the market. Now, remember, Michelle, the Fed's goal was to essentially get the Fed rate above inflation, and that's what we're at right now. So that has caused the dollar to break, as not as much money's coming to the United States. That weaker dollar tends to bring money into the commodity markets. And I think for the first time in a very long time, you're going to start seeing some spec money come back into these markets. So that could also help propel the market higher.
Yeah, the funds have been pretty absent, haven't they?
They have been absent, and as you look at the index funds, they liquidated hard. They started liquidating the moment the Fed started raising interest rates. Now it looks like hopefully they're into the pause mode. That'll allow the money to come back in and help propel this market higher.
All right. Well, hopefully we can build on that this week. Thanks so much for joining us. Jim McCormick with agmarket.net. That's Markets Now, and we will have more Ag Day coming up.
To contact Jim McCormick at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net. Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
So just a little bit ago, we looked at the extreme heat that is going to be building in and across the United States. The precipitation forecast this week kind of sets up where we're going. Back down here to the west and to the southwest, we got that ridge building. So initially it is going to remain dry, but that little trough, that shallow trough that we talked about 10 minutes ago, that is going to bring some rainfall in and across the Midwest for the week, but it's going to be nudging back up to the north and to the northeast as we get deeper and deeper into the week. So that's what you're seeing, is where the heat is, the rain is not, and where the, I'd say, cooler temperatures are comparatively, right underneath that shallow trough is where the rain is going to try to come down. Maybe 1, possibly 2 inches of rainfall into Illinois, Indiana, into the Midwest, and then exiting where we don't need it, back up here to the northeast. But this is very clearly matching up with what's going on with the jet stream. So that leads me to my next graphic, the jet stream. As we go through the week, so this is jet stream coming up on Friday. You know, we've gone through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I want to jump ahead going into the weekend because we have more of a shallow jet stream that isn't going to be digging. If we want rain chances, if we want rainfall over a large portion of the United States, then we want to see troughs digging down here to the south. We go pretty zonal as we go into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week, which is going to keep the rain chances locked back up here to the north. The jet stream, as we've talked about before on this show, that's why I love Ag Day, the jet stream is just the difference between the cooler to the north and the warmer to the south. So the farther north we get that jet stream, especially in this kind of pattern, the hotter these temperatures are expected to be at the surface. So expect temperatures really to start to warm up Friday and Saturday. Who would have thought that we'd sit here 3 minutes on just one graphic? Take a look at what's going on in Nevada. 102 degrees, sunny, and that could be today, that could be tomorrow, that could be this entire week. Idaho, Twin Falls, sunny, 92 degrees, low of 59 degrees. What about Boone, North Carolina? Beautiful part of the country, high around 83 degrees, low 62.
Registration is open for the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour, August 21st through the 24th. Attend one of our nightly meetings or join online as we gain insight on the 2023 growing season. Visit profarmercroptour.com/register to select the stop nearest you.
New tractors and combines appear to be selling well. The Association of Equipment Manufacturers monthly flash report showing that the sale of all tractors last month were up 1.5% from the same month last year. Two-wheel drive smaller tractors under 40 horsepower were even with last year, while 40 and under 100 horsepower were down 3%. Now sales of those two-wheel drive 100 plus horsepower, they were up 25%, while four-wheel drive tractors were up 22%. Meanwhile, combine sales for the month, they were up 10% from last year. Year to date, combine sales are up almost 52%.
Well, folks, I covered quite a farm retirement auction last Thursday in Colo, Iowa, sailed by Daily Auction Company. Retirement sale for Robert Lee. You maybe saw the Machinery Pete YouTube video I posted, and wow, strong pricing. That 2008 Case H 2588 combine selling for $147,500 with just 1,210 SEP hours on it. Highest auction price in 8 years. The 2013 Magnum 260, 944 hours, went for $165,000, tied highest auction price ever. And the 2011 Magnum 335 with 1,810 hours, sold for $207,500, second highest auction price ever. But I got to tell you, there was one other item on the auction last Thursday that really had folks talking, and it was a tillage item, which didn't surprise me. Tillage has been very strong lately, and it was this Case IH 530C 5-shank Ripper that sold for $35,000, and same deal here, record high auction price. The previous high I'd ever seen on a 530C was $29,000, but that was all the way back in February of 2016. And like I say, tillage has been very strong lately. Here's another example. This sold on a June 27th online dealer auction out of Illinois, a 2019 Landau 7530 35-foot vertical tillage tool sold for $90,000. How strong is that? Well, machinerypete.com, we got 31 7530 vertical tills for sale by dealer. Only 5 have higher advertised prices than $90,000.
All right, thanks, Pete. Up next, we're heading north to the Northern Plains. Internet funny man Charlie Behrens continues his tour of the Ag States of America with a trip to North Dakota. Next. Continuing our tour of the Ag States of America, today we're in North Dakota, a place with a great big sky and an even bigger agricultural industry. Here's Charlie Behrens.
Now, when I say North Dakota, what do you think of? And please don't say wood chipper.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Yeah. Say farmers. North Dakota has over 26,000 farmers utilizing more than 39 million acres, or 90% of the land for farming. Now, North Dakota is known as the breadbasket of the world. Other states make the same claim, but North Dakota is up to the challenge with a long list of crops yielding big numbers. Now, just for some quick stats, North Dakota produces 39% of the nation's dry beans, and more specifically, 68% of the pinto beans, 84% of the nation's canola crop, 71% of the flaxseed, 45% of the sunflowers, and 19% of rye. That's a lot of fiber. Big thanks to North Dakota for keeping this great nation regular. North Dakota is also the top wheat producing state with 17% of the total U.S. market share, which is significant considering how many major states are growing wheat. Oh, and North Dakota is #1 in producing honey as well. In fact, 26% of all the nation's honey comes from North Dakota, where more than 300 licensed beekeepers produce over 38 million pounds of that sweet stuff every single year. Now keep in mind, honeybees are far more important to our nation's food supply than their honey alone. In general, honeybees pollinate 80% of all our crops. As a result, 1/3 of all our food depends directly or indirectly on honeybee pollination. So another way to look at this is that 1 of every 3 bites of food we eat exists only because of honeybees. Now, in one case in particular, the majority of all the honeybees in North Dakota, plus bees from other parts of the Midwest, are transported to California for a few weeks every single year. These bees are used to help pollinate California's almond trees when they're in bloom. Bees can't survive year-round in that part of California, so they then have to be transported back and forth for those specific seasons. It's just like snowbirds. In fact, some people call these snow bees. And by some people, I mostly mean me, but I think it's a good name and it should stick. Anyway, North Dakota is a major grower of soybeans, corn, potatoes, sugar beets, barley, and oats as well. At this point, you may have noticed that I haven't mentioned any livestock production, unless you count the bees. And I know some ranchers from North Dakota are probably scratching their heads right now, but don't worry, I did not forget about you. To be fair, 85% of all egg production in North Dakota are crops, but 15% does come from livestock, and most of that comes from cattle. In fact, North Dakota is home to more than 1.8 million head of cattle. That's more than 2 cattle for every 1 person. Just imagine if those cattle could vote. Now, just to wrap your head around how much beef we're talking about here, and vegans, you may want to put the earmuffs on. Good. Okay, 1 head of cattle is about 2,100 hamburgers. So we're talking about 3.8 billion quarter pounders. That is a whole lot of cholesterol. Now, before we go, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to North Dakota's pig, sheep, dairy, and poultry farmers and those ranchers helping strengthen the bison herd.
All right, thanks, Charlie. And you can watch more of these state-by-state features with Charlie over at pivotbio.com/originals. And that's all the time we have on this Monday morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay,